Well, hello everyone. I think we are now live. We are about to settle in for the round 35 encounter between Nigel Richards and David Eldar at Causeway Challenge 2016, the first match of the afternoon session on the fourth day. So tournament, or 3/4 over now already, and only 11 games to go. And I think if I read the standings right as I made my way into the tournament room just now, there are now only 10 players in the field within 4 of the lead. That lead, of course, is held by David Eldar of Australia, who has 24 wins and a commanding margin of 19-22, which is almost worth a game on its own. Nigel Richards trails him by 1. He has 23 wins and a 13-18 margin. You can, of course, see all these standings at causewaychallenge.com. 2 players are a game further back, Esther Perrins and Mark Nyman. They're currently facing off on board 2, and then Esther will come up to board 1 next round to play David with the lagged pairing. Nice. So that'll be a nice matchup. A game further back on 21 wins, that's 3 off the pace in 5th position, is Harshan Lamabudasuria of the United Kingdom. And another half game further back, we've got Dave Wiegand in 6th place. He's almost made it up to the top table on a couple of occasions now. Still yet to be there, but there's time. 11 runs to go in King of the Hill.
Still plenty of time.
Yeah, anything could happen. Dave's been on a bit of a lucky run this morning, although he's, of course, played extremely well as well.
And had a very unlucky run to begin with, so a little bit of variance working in his favour there.
But if his tiles dry up, Nigel or somebody else could well catch up. We've seen the lead change in this tournament a lot of times already, and I wouldn't be surprised if it had a few more twists in it yet. But look what's happened. I feel like it's history repeating itself. Dave gets a beautiful easy bingo, and Nigel probably forced to change on his opening rack with 2 U's and a W. So guys, do keep the chat active. As you all know by now, we're not using Crackle to find plays here in the commentary booth. We're just calling a game as we see it, so we are very likely to miss good candidate plays. Let us know in the chat what you reckon. Dave, no surprises there, slams down the bingo unhesitatingly and goes to a handy little 66-point lead. We wait to see what Nigel draws to go with his ER keep, which I think was a pretty uncontroversial choice on his part. And he picks tiles that need a D to go with them, and I don't think that any of what's actually on the board is going to help that rack to make a bingo.
Nope.
D and the C are the only tiles for an 8 there. Dave's picked the U's that Nigel changed, but it's a very playable rack, that one, with audio and a couple of other options to play through those vowels, so there should be no risk of an exchange there for Dave. Now, for those of you watching the stream, got an interesting little Nigel story that was relayed by Jesse Day over lunch. I don't think Jesse Matthews, my co-commentator, has heard this one yet. It's quite an interesting one. So these guys, Jesse Day and Nigel, they were playing off camera earlier today, and early in the game the word OD was on the board. It was Nigel to play, and Nigel laid down. First of all, he just put down a K on top of the OD, making KOD. Right, and he stared at that for a while. Then he added 3 other tiles to the board, making PELK, still with KOD. This is Nigel we're talking about. And Nigel then left those tiles on the board, didn't hit his clock, stared at them for 2 full minutes, Jesse said. Pelk and Cod, 2 phonies. And then very slowly retracted all 4 tiles, and after another minute's thought, played Kelp and Pod in the position, taking 3 minutes on the play. And for those who've been following Nigel for a long period of time, they won't be entirely surprised to hear this, because Nigel has made transposition errors at least 2 or 3 times in big games over the course of a long tournament career, of course, so it's a rare thing to do, but something we haven't seen from him for a while. I had thought that Nigel 2.0 had come with that particular bug fix, but apparently not. He had to stare at PELK and KOD on the board for 2 full minutes. before correcting it.
It was a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a black cat to walk by sometime soon.
Meanwhile, back on the live stream, Nigel made the 2-tile fish. Looks like a decent choice, of course, creating a bingo alley for himself vertically with his tee in the leave. He's picked up a 7, which is kind of handy. Normally with a 2-val draw to a imbalanced 3-val 2 consonant leave, you're kind of climbing walls, but that one's okay. You should be able to knock down eatery somewhere or other.
Chris Leip suggests alloy with the L and Estral to create a fork.
Of course, the inference from Nigel's play is that he's keeping all 1-point tiles, so that it's a lot less scary to expose the A and the I next to the premium squares.
I get it. I'd still, I'm not sure I got a trigger on it, but I get it. I certainly understand the logic to it.
Just seeing if there was a horizontal alloy. There isn't, right?
No, because the L is on the board and that's it.
Oh, beg your pardon, yeah. Audios must be another reasonably plausible option. And Chris Light astutely points out that one other feature of the alloy play is that a reparallel bingo is bound to open a triple-triple. And that's the kind of foresight that we expect at this level.
Yep.
I guess arduous is also possibly worth a look, but Dave may feel that that's giving up too many floaters and sacrificing too much control over his leave to play it, despite the little score advantage it has over alloy.
Looks like he's decided arduous is actually worth it. So, there you go. And that one, compared to alloy, is a little more dangerous. Actually, maybe not. The O is beneath the U, never mind. So it's the same 1A. There's a 1A open to axe plays and similar plays from Nigel's point of view. After that, just like after alloy. So I guess there is no difference in danger, except this one uses 2U, so there you go.
And so Nigel with eatery, the 4 overlaps just been taken because it was only above Eastral that was possible. So Nigel left with a 2 overlap with eatery, which is going to accept an S hook in the O column.
Meanwhile, David Eldar has reptile, among other things, on his rack, continuing to pull hot.
Perlite, so guaranteed bingo for him. Wow. He's loving life at the moment. So we're expecting to see a bingo exchange here, which in scoring terms is going to favour David in addition to his existing 70-point lead. So it's going to be Nigel to play with random racks and a substantial deficit, and we'll see what he can do in terms of commencing his comeback very shortly. Double bingo for Nigel involving the O column would level things up pretty nicely, and I think we'd all like to see a closely fought game here.
Colin, there was the option to play Eatery at 7F before a play of Arduous as well, but yes, it was the only available bonus option to be played on the board. And then, of course, the 7H spot, which is just a mirror image of what he played below. So Nigel's got the X for a play off of what Eldar has set up.
That's a very nice draw for Nigel. If you're not going to get a bingo, then long-term scoring potential is the next best thing. And actually, I think Dave's not going to be that happy with the placement of his bingo options. Unless I'm missing a spot on the board, sevens don't go, so he's left with a choice between Perlite, which is coming down right now, and Pearlite at 2C, which scores very little and gives counterplay. So Dave almost forced to expose the 9-timer there, and we've got a wildly open board, the kind of board from which a 90-point deficit with no blanks down is really not so crippling. Nigel has a wealth of choices here.
Yeah, this is going to be instructional, this move, I would say. The obvious play on the top, if you were to play up top, would be Ox at F2, but down at the bottom there are options like Zex and other similar things.
Yeah, so
Ox, of course, under Eatery, so I'd say he probably would hold on to the X, given he's a guaranteed 50 plus.
I see that Dave has drawn Plafons, by the way.
Wow.
At 6A. Yeah. Ridiculous.
So interestingly, it looks like Nigel's gone for Ox this turn. I mean, you can't argue with scoring points right away, but I wonder if maybe there was a Z play down with the Ian Perlite that he might have considered first, since he has Ox in another place.
I have a feeling Nigel might like his chances of getting the Z there next turn with something like knees, or even like some de-ionize if he draws really well as a triple-triple.
Sure.
The way Dave's been picking, he's probably disappointed he doesn't quite have Feldspar. But anyway, he does have a bingo, so he's going to go. Well, basically, he's going to maintain his 100-point lead. And Nigel, close but no cigar, right? Just the G that makes a bingo with what Nigel's got. But there may well be big scoring places available, and ZO at 8N is a nice scoring backup despite the double N in the keep.
Plays playing on the letters, so Plafons is coming down.
And zoned gets pointed out down the bottom. Very nice. Bingo score for Nigel. So this is a nice high scoring encounter and could go either way. Dave with the initiative, no doubt that he has the momentum, but anything could happen. And of course, we've got 2 blanks in the pool despite what Quackle is showing on the current feed.
Yeah, it's probably just randomly put the blank into David Eldar's next round.
Yeah. Nice free-flowing game.
Very early on, we already have 4 bingos.
3 of them a day, right?
And then it'll be, besides that, 2 non-bingo plays from Nigel, both scoring very well.
Dave's rack looking ominous. NOORT. We await the 6th and 7th tiles with interest.
Given the way he's been picking, it might actually be a blank.
An S or a blank would be pretty dangerous for Nigel. Anything big down the O column from Dave at this point is going to really, really threaten the win. Nigel, of course, plays that lovely N zoned. Still a 9-timer open. Lovely H1 spot down to that S. O column, 14 row, double in the K column. F2, there's points all over here.
And we're still just waiting for the last 2 letters on David Eldar's rack.
I think his elbow might be in the way. Come on guys, let's get it now that he's moved back. Nigel. A little bit of a clunky draw there. No loose S to play skivvy off. Guys in the crew, assuming that it's not Dave's elbow that's getting in the way of his rack, could you maybe give us a live shot and let us know what he's got? We'd really like to know what he's thinking about here. Or maybe even someone in the crew could just run up to the table and get behind Dave and see if you can spot what he's got. That would be great. I think everyone would love to know what this play is about.
David's made a play, but we don't know what he made the play from.
Oh, so he picked the Q. QD, we're told. So that's a little bit of a headache for him in terms of anything board control-y. QIN looks... I've had all of 10 seconds to think about it, but QIN looks like a fairly forced play there.
Yeah.
And he won't be too unhappy about his leave. Nigel, 46 in arrears, but going to take him a turn or two to sort out this lot of nonsense that he's got in his rack. Who's got a good idea? Let us know in the chat.
I was trying to find some form of GY words in the 8M region, if there was like AG something or whatever, but I'm not seeing anything that fits on top of there.
I see that
Kex is 41, as Catscrone says.
Yeah, I see that Dave's got another bingo threatened here through that E. Does give away a high-scoring hook back if Dave gets that down.
Doomster has been pointed out. Nice.
KY leaves Nigel with the unattractive 2 Vs on his rack still. Of course there will be places to dump those next turn, but it's the kind of game where the tempo is such that just one move that's pure rack balance for no score could end up with too much of a deficit to come back from. So a little bit for Nigel to think about here in terms of maximising his long-term winning chances.
Viv has been pointed out as an option for Nigel to clear.
Yeah, and again the unattractive part of that is the VK keep.
Vivery has been played through the R and Arduous. That's definitely a nice play, keeping DK.
I can't argue with that, hadn't spotted it. And it just sort of knocks out a couple of the regions where Dave could have had a really big score. So nice play, bringing Nigel within 16. Dave's going to bingo, but there are still comeback options here.
And you know what's nice about Vivery is also leaves him DAC and KY and DA on the next turn.
Oh, really nice.
And Chris Life has pointed out the same in the chat. Yeah, it's great foresight.
Classy play. I think everyone's enjoying this. And I'd love to see Nigel get a 4-timer back on row 11 after Dave's bingo. He doesn't have that.
He didn't have the D, okay, so there was something else in his rack, but still.
I think it was the G actually.
G? Okay.
Yeah.
Still a nice play.
Still a nice play, yeah. So Dave unhesitatingly whacks down the old Doomster. And with 1 S and 1 blank in the bag, both Doomster and Eatery can't be hooked with an S. They can only be hooked using the blank and the S if both are going to get taken. Nigel has to figure out a 90-point comeback. Currently not holding either. I beg your pardon, yeah, we're still short 2 blanks in the game. I had forgotten. And that's really interesting. So lots and lots of play left in this position. I think Nigel needs to get himself some points and keep the pressure on Dave, who also hasn't drawn S or either blank. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Blanks hiding.
A race to S or blank. And I think some
Nigel.
of that is the fear of the potential draw into a blank or S for a double-double or even just a high-scoring play.
And so that one, to me, looks like a textbook case of playing for turnover. That lucking move, it of course knocks out the double-double as well. But Nigel knows full well that if he don't draw those blanks, he ain't winning.
Yeah, so strategy in the modern era, one of the things that's different is people used to play for pure turnover a lot of the time, and that's been debunked as a theory for the most part. But there are instances like here where you do want turnover to try and grab your blank specifically, while you still don't do that in general for the whole game. For a part of the game such as now, it's a good strategy.
And they're still hiding.
The bag has glitched, notices Chris Light, as Nigel needs a D for glitched. So 22 unseen tiles to both players, and 2 of those 22 are the blanks.
Maybe someone pocketed them at lunch. I'm on to you, Nigel Richards.
Nigel, next turn, GHI doesn't really give him much playing at 8M, but it still scores a fair bit.
I wonder if he'll like that. He might be looking at an H1 play to set up something over to the northeastern triple is also very possible. Something like lights, keeping EC. Looks pretty okay to me, scores a bunch. So Dave's got some obvious looking equity plays at A1, but whether those develop the board in a way that he thinks is favourable to him, I'm unsure. You know, he's going to be very, very aware that the blanks are hiding, and the odds of Nigel holding on are astronomical. You know, getting higher with every move. So a northwestern play, despite its equity advantage, probably not exactly what Dave wants to do positionally. He may do it anyway. But as we've all seen, he's a very creative player, and he may come up with something different here that he feels gives him a positional advantage going into this late game battle with hiding blanks. Still anyone's game.
And Ying, from the perspective of Nigel, he actually doesn't want the blanks to come together. More ideally, they would come separately. It would be good news to have them together in one turn, because having them separate makes it more likely to have 2 different blank bonuses, but together it's only down in one play, and you can, if you're in Eldar's position, as long as you score enough, you can manage one bonus coming down, but 2, it's going to be pretty hard to keep the win.
So here's a little quiz for you guys. In the Collins lexicon, there are 2 8-letter words that fit as a 9-timer in the board as it currently stands between A1 and A8. What are they?
There goes Wove, which I think is a perfectly sensible play as well.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he took a bit of time on it, and I'm also not surprised that he ended up doing it. And I think
no blanks.
I think that we're going to see lights from Nigel, or some equivalent play. That looks like a nice way to just open up another bingo alley and keep himself within single bingo deficit.
Light scores very nicely. Yeah, that's amazing. There are now 19 unseen tiles, and 2 of them are blanks.
Also, Licht is available as well. Personally, I think I'd keep the CE over the GE.
Yeah, same.
And this isn't the absence of blanks is now a little bit crazy.
Yeah, it's gone beyond just a little bit of variance. It's pretty huge. at this point.
So Nigel agrees with us and slaps down lights, keeping himself well in this game, turning over 5 tiles, and can he make the blanks appear?
So far, no dice with a B drawn. A, B, C, E. The I heart, oh my. He's got nice letters, but still no blanks.
He's got a big bingo down the O column, and Ascribe as a backup on row 14, so Nigel will be bingoing here. And we wait and see if Dave can get a counter. This is going to be cool.
Wow. Ascribe means he'll have 7 shots at picking out one of those 2 blanks.
Certainly does.
Suddenly makes it pretty good looking for him.
Dave will be mindful he's got the Y for Oxy in case that turns out useful. And really, as to state an incredibly obvious point, a lot of the result of this game depends on how the blanks fall in the next couple of exchanges.
Now, if you're David Eldar, and you want to think about ways that this game are most likely to be lost, I would imagine eateries and something of the sort along that column would be of great concern. So do you think he's thinking about possibly an Oxy on this very turn? Or would he, I'm trying to think of the math on that. I don't have it off the top of my head, but how likely do you think he would be to play something like
I think it's not at all out of the question. But I also think that at least on a cursory look at the board, it's not a move that you're going to obviously be drawn to.
Because so, you see Hay at L4, for example, scoring a lot.
Yeah, so I think everyone will probably agree that this is maybe a critical play in terms of how much defense Dave should play. So I think, is it L1 that's being nominated as a play that scores a load of points and therefore has to be done?
Oh, L1 like YEAH is being suggested, I think, but I was suggesting L4 instead. But L1's even better because it takes out a blank, or a bonus line.
Or O10 YEH for pure defense.
Yeah, so...
if I know Dave, he doesn't like those L column plays that much in terms of board management, and he may be very seriously considering sacrificing a load of equity here.
This is a hard decision. Again, to state the obvious, but
I don't know, you probably do need to know a bit of maths to really think your way through this over the board.
So it looks like he's gone for the upper portion of the board. So something like or He's going for
Going for the points. Outrunning strategy with the blanks whereabouts unknown. So this is going to be pretty interesting.
Pulling 4. Now,
buckle up, guys.
It's crucial that he grabs one here, or else Nigel would almost certainly have one.
Nigel, choice of bingos from 03. All of which look like they'll just about give him a slight score advantage, going into a 3 tile in the bag situation for Dave. And let's see who can grab a blank.
Oh, there we go.
Dave Eldar can grab a blank, and he can bingo with it. That looks like a KO to me, because he's going to occupy the only remaining easy bingo line on the board. Unless Nigel can get a nice overlap on row 11. So Nigel taking a bit of time, and Ascribe, as Josh has just put in the chat, may be worth a look.
Those are some Jedi mind tricks for sure, if he manages to figure out and pull the trigger on that, because every instinct would be to play off the triple word score line.
Yeah, I must admit I probably would have slapped down the O column without thinking twice about it. Anybody got the game in Crackle to run some numbers on the placement here? I'd love to know the results. So if I'm seeing the game correctly, and Nigel does play down the O column, and Dave bingo's back on row 14, I think Nigel's going to require a bingo draw outplay to win, and that looks really hard to fit on the board. I think it'd have to be on row 11 or a magic 9 through the IO that's sitting in the middle right. Doesn't look too probable even with a blank. Of course, if he does decide to play on row 14, we think Dave is bingo-less.
He's playing on the
blank. Nigel Richards.
Wow.
Wow. What more can you say but wow? I mean, obviously there's a load of calculation behind that from Nigel. We don't exactly know the numbers. But presumably he decided that was more winning with 2 unseen blanks to him.
Wow.
And part of that, of course, to state a point that probably most people in the chat have absorbed but no one's actually typed out, part of the reasoning here is that Dave would have to make a blank and S to use that O column.
Look at his pull.
That's horror draw. So Dave can't bingo in the O column without making his blank and S. So a little bit harder. This is a really remarkable game that we're seeing here. A 1-point score difference. Dave Eldar's bingo has been unexpectedly blocked. There's a blank in the pool. The pool only has 3 letters. Dave is going to draw it if he empties the bag, and so therefore should win, given the nonsense that Nigel has just pulled. Wow. Nigel Richards, after what is potentially strategically wonderful play of a scribe, can count himself seriously unlucky. And David Eldar's dream day marches on.
From David's point of view, the pool's not that great, but to him, he thinks it's pretty likely that Nigel's got a blank, so he's got to
think through it.
Yeah. Actually, to his point of view, Nigel has Jism and a scribes.
Yep.
So he's going to want to block down there. I would not be surprised at some kind of underlap play on a scribe to take out Jism as an option.
Just to give you guys a spoiler, I sub-anagram matched the pool from Dave's point of view, and there are actually only 2 7s in it, and neither ends with S. So Dave, although he may not be completely sure of it, is totally safe from a bingo, even if he leaves that O column untouched. And well, what an amazing
what a twist!
What an amazing sort of distribution of tiles through that game.
And as mentioned by Nick Fern's, jumbos and eateries is also possible for Nigel from David's point of view, so he's got to pick which one to block. Jism and jumbos, both very viable options from his point of view.
Yeah, I guess the only way to block both is to sacrifice the blank on O10, and he's not going to want to do that because it's going to not score any points going into the end game. So he might do a couple of things here. I think playing off at 15L is reasonably plausible to give himself a handy score advantage to counter Nigel's out and 2 in the end game. Whether that's enough to beat jumbos in all scenarios, I have no clue.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say Cat's Crown, Jiao doesn't work because of IA, but anyway, there are lots of options, so he's decided to take out the Jism possibility, and he's going to be fine here as he pulls the last blank out of the pool.
He's going to be breathing a sigh of relief. I'm interested about Fenny. I guess Dave's probably trying to avoid doubling up his eyes and keeping the GT blank as opposed to his other options there. So suddenly there's not a lot to discuss. Dave pulls the second blank out of the bag, sitting pretty with a 50-point lead and absolute gobbledygook on Nigel Richards' rack. Can Nigel make a play? Can Dave make a play that involves Doomster? I don't know. I can't really be bothered working it out. 2 blanks is too hard for me. Don't know about you guys. Goat blank blank. Who knows?
Most obvious place for Nigel to unload the J is like Jube or Jibe on the BE in the ascribe area next turn. But yeah, as Chris Lake has mentioned, this has turned into what will be a comfortable win for David Eldar.
It's not a shootout. But Dave with too much firepower. Nigel needed a blank. Couldn't find one.
And yeah, several really particularly interesting plays to talk about this game. But yeah, the ascribe play is that was quite something.
That was quite something, wasn't it? I think very few of us would have had the guts to play it. Feels wrong, but may well be right.
There goes jab. And now just pick an out, any out.
And I'm just going to head across to board 2 and see what's going on between Mark Nyman and Esther Perrins.
Yes, SR, Jesse Day had a bit of a tough morning. Several tough losses. A very close loss to Mark Nyman in the morning as well.
Hey again, so on table 2, Mark and Esther are still in a late mid-game, and Mark is a clear bingo up on Esther, but Esther's got a pretty handy looking rack with a Z, S blank and H on it, so definitely the artillery to engineer a comeback. Of course, Esther will be up on board 1 next round against Dave because of the lag draw. And personally, I'd love to see a game where David Eldar doesn't get 2 blanks at some stage today.
Yeah, he's almost doing the Nigel thing by just pummeling everyone and drawing well in the process.
Yeah, and the tournament needs him to get pulled back, so maybe Esther's the one to do it. Yeah, I meant to say, poor old Jesse Day lost every game in the morning session.
And I do know what that feels like. So does Austin Shin, who has actually made a remarkable comeback, having his 7 in a low roster earlier, but now he's winning lots of games.
He needed Nigel to put down that Pelk. So Dave using every ounce of time as usual, trying to get it spread out.
So there's the win for David Eldar, who's going to jump up. Nice cushion now with a win over Nigel plus a bunch of spread.
So I think with that we might sign off for this round. Thanks again for joining us, guys. Hope you're going to stick around and stay up late for the continuing run of David Eldar on board one of the Causeway Challenge, hoping to consolidate his lead next round against Esther Perrins. Till then, thanks for your company, and we'll see you soon.